Raise. You're listening to the Logic Session. This is big time Logic Session. We got people in the chat room calling nihilism on me. Yeah, I get that. Nothing. Nihilism. Nihilism is the belief that there's nothing. Nothing means anything. And we talked about determinism a couple of weeks ago on the show, and determinism is essentially a branch of nihilism because it says you have no free will. Everything happens because of the interactions that have happened before. And again, but for the listeners of this particular show, the Logic Session, raise. I like to do some research. So I was reading about an interesting paradox to do with determinism. It's called Buridan's ass. And it was a French guy that came up with this thought experiment. And I like to stretch people on this show with thought experiments. Yes, raise, riggedy raise. Thought experiment. So Buridan's ass is a donkey, an ass, that's very hungry. And according to determinism, his entire life is planned out due to physical and biological interactions already. He's just walking around because of the stuff that's happened since the Big Bang. He has no free will. Now, what about if he's very hungry and he walks between two giant piles of hay that are 100% equidistant, so they are just as easy to get to as one another? Now, determinism says that the physical interactions around him should cause him to do one or the other. But if they're absolutely equidistant, which physical interaction wins? Buridan's ass. Big raise to the listeners. Right, let's have a tune. Let's get a tune pumping. I'll see what I can get out of this Korg Elect tribe. What we got? Okay. Okay, here's a tune I was knocking up just the other night. Let's see how this rolls.
You're not going to talk about Christmas.
Raise. Yeah, we got some listeners in the chat room talking about gun control. My opinion on gun control, forget that. Just control your fucking guns. Stop shooting. Big up, that was the Gun Control tune. We had Alice on vocals there. I hope you appreciated her singing, her lovely song singing. It was singing, do it again. Hello listeners, raising up. Scott Keenan in the show, big yourself up. You're listening to some heavyweight chat, some mediocre beats, courtesy of the man like Kosh. For some reason my Korg Electribe after about 32 bars changes to some weird trance song, so I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I do about that. I've got some kind of MIDI hookup going on that's causing all sorts of problems. What's this? Oh, we've heard that one. What's this? Okay. Right, we're just going to raise this little tune in the background. I was wondering if any of the listeners out there would like a particular shout out or request. If you've got a particular song you'd like me to play, some kind of vibe you'd like me to drop, I'll see what I can do. Wanted to talk a little bit about space again, and the universe, and the scale and size of things. It really helps me get my head round the universe when I start to consider the bigness of things. There's something called the great filter. Alice wants to say something. Hold on. What you're whinging about? What you banging on about?
I don't know. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day there from the wife. Big raises. So yeah, the great filter. The great filter is an idea that tries to get its head round the fact that the Drake equation says that there's so many thousands and thousands of civilizations, but how come we've never contacted any? How come we've never heard from them or seen them, or why haven't they come across us? Think of the time the universe has been around. If all these civilizations are in the Milky Way, up to 1 million potentially, then they're like that in every galaxy. So why hasn't someone got far enough forward to colonize space and to meet these other people? Well, that's the Fermi paradox. 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 So, yeah, why aren't we hearing from these people? Why aren't they raising us up? Why aren't they in the chat room? Well, one guy proposed the idea of the great filter, which was that there's a series of steps that any civilization has to go through in order to become a big civilization, if that makes any sense, in order to grow and develop. He came up with 9 steps, and of course the first one required the right kind of star system, so the right amount of planets, the right proximity to the star. Step number 1, tick. It needs reproductive molecules like DNA or RNA to develop from the primordial sludge. It needs to then develop simple single-cell life. That's the next stage in a civilization. Then, that has to develop into complex life, complex single-celled life. Then, of course, develops sexual reproduction, the ability to reproduce sexually. Then you start to get multi-cell life. And then you get tool-using animals with big brains like us. We've got big brains and we use tools. And then you get to where we are now. That's where we are on Earth. That's our civilization. We've just transcended big brains and tool usage. The next stage is colonization explosion. That should be the thing where we meet the rest of the people in the universe, or other people are meeting the rest of the people in the universe. But the great filter suggests that there is something that stops civilizations ever reaching that point, because if they had ever reached that point, we would know about it. And some of the hypotheses for the great filter are things like no viable star system has enough resources to make craft and technology powerful enough to leave that star system. Now, if that's the case, that means even though there's billions and billions and billions of other civilizations out there, it's impossible for us to ever meet them. That's called the Great Filter. Raise, that's where that weird trance tune just comes in from somewhere. That's my MIDI setup's doing all sorts of mad stuff. Raise. Whoa, here we go with the LFO vibe. Kosh. Gosh, there we go with the loop. Wowza. So, goes out to wowza. Goes out to everyone listening in tonight. This is the Logic session, the Wednesday night. A little bit of a hastily put together one, and I've got all sorts of strange new leads that are making all sorts of weird new things happen. So let's have a little play around here. Big up to the station manager who's listening in the chat room. It's great to have him here. I think he's coming over to the UK at some point soon. That's a giant raise. We're going to be hooking up with him at some point, hanging out. I wonder what other people's Christmas plans are. I'm guessing you're drinking a little bit of beer door from the Stubbies, cracking the top off, having 2 sips, leaving it by the sofa and then kicking it over 5 minutes later. I guess you're opening a few presents. I imagine you're going to have some Pringles and some prunes. It's going to be Pringles and prunes. It's going to be a good time. Just handing you over to Alice for a second.
Charlie.